My name is Yesenia Peck. I am originally from Lima, Peru, and I've been in the US for 15 years. I never thought that I would become an American, but you know, love plays a strange trick on us. And I met my husband through a common friend, and that's how my story began. There's an old saying that if you want to hear God laughing, tell him about your plans. That's exactly what happened to me. I was working as an attorney in the courthouse in Lima. And here I am, having a beautiful family in the good life. Talking to you in English and really hoping that you are understanding me. And even better, working in Nebraska. When I came to the US, I didn't know much about America. I knew about the Statue of Liberty in New York. I knew about Disney World and the existence of Florida. And I knew about those places because I was there once, but I knew about those places because everyone who comes to the US on vacation come to bigger cities. I never heard someone coming to Nebraska on vacation. I didn't know about snow. Yes, smile because snow and we don't have the greatest relationship. I didn't know about snow. Well, let me take that back. I knew about snow because I watched Home Alone several times at Christmas season. That was my favorite back then. And I also knew about snow because I received Christmas cards from my madrina, my godmother who lives in New York. But reality was that I never heard of Nebraska. When I was about to come to the US, I called my friends who are Peruvian and were living in the US for several years before I traveled. And when I asked about Nebraska, after being a subject of so many jokes, they told me that Nebraska is all about white people, lots of cornfield, and the most boring place to live in America. I was terrified. And I was terrified because I wasn't coming alone. I was coming with my child. Back then, he was 6 years old. And I was terrified because what they were telling me is that Nebraska is the opposite of diversity and the opposite of the place I grew up. When I came to Nebraska, I quickly learned that diversity is a very well-known buzzword. The very few people know the meaning, and very few people are willing to learn the meaning. However, I also realized that what happened to me with my friends is what usually happens. Think about this. When you want to know about someone and a specific diverse group, or a group, you just go to the people you trust. And people you trust usually look like you or like me. Like in my case, I was asking my friends, Peruvian, brown, speak Spanish, immigrants. And I take as valid whatever they told me about the state of Nebraska. I never thought that my friends were ever in Nebraska. They were repeating something that someone else told them based on someone else's experiences, stereotypes, or simply unconscious biases. And when we think about it, it's what usually happens to all of us. The word diversity is many times stereotyped and misunderstood in a way that creates barriers to include inclusion within our strategies. Before we start strategizing diversity and inclusion for our communities or workplaces, our minds are already set one way or the other, positive or negative. Like in my case, I was terrified about Nebraska. My mind was already set negatively, even before my arrival. We say to people in our organizations, school, communities, we want to work diversity. We all say that, but what it is diversity anyways? Because what it is for me probably is different for you, for everyone in this room. I think about diversity very broadly. I think about the different areas that people bring to the table. Race, gender, the way that we solve problems, the way that we make decisions, how involved we are in our communities. What area we like to serve? Is it a school? Is it an organization, church, chamber? But diversity also means perspectives, experiences, values. Bottom line, when we want to learn about diversity or one specific diverse group, we go to a long thought process as to our sources that we trust. Then we make a prediction about a specific group, and then we make a decision on how to treat that group in our communities. We all know, and we heard today, that we must talk about diversity and inclusion in our communities and for our workplaces. But we openly tend to avoid the topic and put it at the bottom of our list, and we create so many reasons to do that. Diversity as a concept makes people nervous and causes anxiety into our organizations and corporate America too. Especially the anxiety is absorbed by our HR colleagues. Really, they have the goals to bring diverse workforce, foster an inclusive work environment, and represent their customers. And how about our communities? Our economic developers and our community developers sweat on how to explain the benefits of diversity and inclusion within their constituency. Whenever we bring up diversity, people's heart tends to sink a little bit. It's because it is seen as a problem, and it's seen as a problem that is not being solved, and it's not being solved because it's not being discussed. And when we don't discuss topics, then we tend to make mistakes. Let me give you a few examples of those mistakes. In corporate America, in our companies, when a company believes that diversity and inclusion is only minorities, and specifically only Hispanics, they tend to believe that hiring a bilingual staff is going to be enough to bring tons of customers that are going to buy our products or their products and services. How about communities? When we don't discuss about diversity and inclusion, and again, targeting that diverse segment of Latinos, we believe that only creating one festival, Cinco de Mayo, is going to bring and going to feel everybody welcome. And sometimes we don't think that our Latinos in the area are not all Mexican. And even if they are from our Mexican community, Cinco de Mayo doesn't have that high relevancy in Mexico. It's not like the Mexican Independence Day. Before I worked for my current employer, Nebraska Public Power District, when I applied to a job, it was easy to perceive when an employer wanted to hire a minority to check as many boxes as they could. And believe me, I was a good candidate. I don't want to boast or anything, but in technical terms, I'm a two-fare. I am brown, and I'm a woman. So I was a good deal. 2 minorities for the price of 1. I'm a double threat for many, but double opportunities for companies who want to hire me or want to hire the company that I own. Because they can check as many boxes as they can. They can prove with me that they don't have issues on sexism, and they don't have issues on racism. Consequently, they don't discriminate anybody. Plus, I'm bilingual, I'm professional, and I can go from one culture to the other easily. What's the future of Nebraska? I can see a diverse Nebraska. It's happening right now. And I'm sure you heard this. Our demographics are changing. And don't think it's just because of immigration. Proof is that we have 4 generations working together in corporate America. 4 generations. How amazing is that? I believe that if you work for HR, you don't share the same excitement I have. It is amazing because it brings tons of opportunities, but as well tons of challenges. That's why we heard so many times diversity and inclusion workforce conference summits, you name it, the word diversity is trending. And I think it's trending because we all know that we are not ready for those changes. And we are not ready for those changes that are going to impact our community more and more. Now, there's no immediate solution or silver bullet for accepting diversity. There's not. And I have to tell you that it will take time, money, and efforts. But we need to have a start point. We need to have a start point. But how can we start the diversity journey? Please tell me your magic. How can we do this? Well, before I tell you my magic, that is not really magic because it's all about people and relationships, I will tell you two main rules that I really would like you to keep in mind if you want to talk, if you want to strategize diversity and inclusion. First, when you talk about diversity and inclusion for your own communities or workplaces, please keep in mind that we have to include all participants. No one specific group, no one specific diverse segment, because if you include only one group, you are not accomplishing your goal of inclusion. Second, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, let's put our political lines on the side, our spiritual beliefs on the side, and our philosophical motives on the side. Because when we talk about diversity, we talk about your neighbor, we talk about people, we talk about your human capital, we talk about community. Diversity does not intend to change your mind, does not intend to change your belief, but it intends to help you to work together, to work together to create synergies through the various diverse skill sets that we encounter, and accepting that we all contribute to our communities. One of the ways that I have found to create a synergy in a community, that's my magic. It's not my secret formula or my secret recipe, but it's just a formula of my own design. I call it my race journey. I go by the acronyms. R, recognize that diversity exists in your community and in your workplaces. A, accept that your organization and your community needs diversity as a value. Embrace diversity. C is for commonalities. It's easier to find the differences that we have, especially when we see our visible differences. Commonalities, it's difficult to find, but it will take efforts. And last, evaluate your progress. Because diversity, as any other project, has to be evaluated and challenge your communities, challenge your workplaces. I have used the RACE framework since I started my diversity journey in Nebraska. It has been successful to open up communities that may otherwise be closed to the concept of diversity and inclusion. As you take this back to your communities, prepare for the future of Nebraska, a future that starts now. Remember, race to the future. Thank you.